Hello and welcome to the Home Coach Cricket Podcast for parents and coaches of young cricketers. Welcome to all our guests for our first podcast. I'm Rob Hampson and I'm with my brother Murray Hampson, the founder of Home Coach Cricket. Obviously our whole goal is to help parents with helping their kids and really helping them with making a big impact on their kids' cricket. But the vision, let's start with just what the vision for the podcast is, and then we can get into the Home Coach Cricket story. But obviously, just as a starting point, our main focus is helping parents and so that they can help their kids with cricket. Because we were lucky enough to have our dad do that for us. So, is there anything else you want to say in the welcome? Do you want to?
Well, just that this is just like a big first for me, as you well know. Tech is not my strong point, but it's pretty cool to be able to sit here and chat about this stuff. So I'm quite excited about this. It's nice to be able to discuss topics and just have a discussion about it. But I think just again we were very lucky, Rob. I think, and that really is. If I really think about where this whole thing started, deep down inside my soul, it's from what mom and dad did for us. What they taught us, our belief system, all of that stuff. But the time that they spent with us, I think everybody's got their story. But the fact that they were prepared to give us time, and Dad wasn't a professional cricketer or a professional cricket coach, but he played enough ball sports to know that time spent with kids at a young age is really key. Number one, from a developmental point of view, sports point of view, and it wasn't like he just played cricket with us. I mean, he spent time playing whatever sport it was, whatever the season was. It was a bit different back then to what it is now. Now it's kind of like one sport all year round. And we were fortunate enough to have winter and summer sports. And so we played all those sports, and he taught us. It was more about learning ball skills and hand-eye coordination, hours and hours on the bank hitting catches. And then obviously as we played different sports, and with cricket in particular, he taught us the basic outline of it. So I think fundamentally we were very privileged to have that. And the other side of it is being able to spend quality time with your parents. So I think that's kind of where this whole thing was born from.
Originally, before the seed that was planted without us realizing it.
I think without realizing it. And that, I don't want to say that that's what it was born from. I think that's the driving point inside this.
The backbone
behind it. Okay, Robert. So before I carry on with where this was all started and why we doing what we're doing, maybe you can just give us the vision behind the podcast.
Yeah, cool. So we've actually had a lot of people reach out to us and ask if we can do a podcast alongside what we're already doing with our public content, with the Home Coach Cricket Club, our membership, with the courses, and I just think it's a really nice platform for us to sort of get really interesting guests on board that will help parents and cricketers with their cricket from all different types of aspects. And obviously with parents that are working, you're driving to school, you're driving to work a lot. And so it just makes sense for us to do this, and to bring on some really cool experts. So that's the vision for it. And of course, guys, we open to, if you have any suggestions of who you'd love to hear us chat to and interview, whether it's about fitness for sport, whether it's about mental capacity, coaching, maybe we'll get some parents in as well who have had success with their kids and get some perspective from them, So if you have any suggestions, be sure to drop us a mail and let us know.
Cool.
All right. So should we get on to the Home Coach story? How did it start? Nazir, do you want to?
Yeah. Well, I think Rob.
Tell us about it.
We both probably remember the day we sat on my veranda, and I remember sitting there, and I was actually moaning about not being able to coach or having to turn away kids from coaching and turn them down, and have to say to parents, I'm sorry, I don't have the time to coach a kid, or I can't get there, it's too far. And it was frustrating, and actually I almost feel like I was letting those kids down. So it was really hard. It's been very hard, and I still have to do it. There's still people asking, can you come up the North Coast or to the Cape and come and coach, and just physically I can't get there. So
we literally have requests coming in all the time on the website now.
So I was frustrated about that, not being able to get to all of these kids. Time is also obviously a thing. It's not just travel; it's just time. I've got a family of my own, coaching my own kids, and we sat there and. Rob, you've been very successful at the time, was building a polo website, online polo website, and it is now, I know for a fact that is now the premier polo website out there in the world.
Coaching
website, yeah. And we kind of started talking about that, and I can't take the praise for this, but you said to me, why don't we do something similar with cricket? I'm already building a website for coaching in polo. Why don't we do something with cricket? And so that's actually where this whole idea was born from. Like I said earlier, I'm not tech and the internet and all that kind of stuff. I'm not very tech savvy, but being involved in it already, it just kind of made sense that this was a way for me to reach pretty much the whole world. So obviously that being able to reach more people is been a massive, I want to say, positive for me, because it's kind of made me realize there's so many people out there that are hungry and are wanting some help. There's a lot of people there that can't afford help. It's very difficult for some people from a financial point of view, and from other people they just maybe are stuck out somewhere and there's no coach available to them. So it kind of made sense for me to be able to, if you could do something like this, then I can, or not me, but people can access my expertise, my knowledge, my experience in their homes, wherever they are, at a very reasonable rate. So that, from a cricket point of view, and being able to reach those people was a big driving point behind this thing. Like I say, quite daunting, the whole technical side, the social media side for me in the beginning, but that kind of made me think hang on, I can do this. There's a lot more people here that can benefit from it. So actually I need to suck up the fact that I'm not very tech savvy, and I just need to start learning this type of thing. And then I think also another really big point for me, and it's a personal thing in my own belief, and it's a subject all on its own, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I really feel that our society in our society, our family unit has systematically been broken down over time, to the point that we almost don't really know what it's meant to be like. And we were very fortunate in that our parents, I don't want to say traditional and use specific words because it puts people off, but the family was a priority, and time spent together was a priority. And so for me, being able to get parents to spend quality time with their kids and be able to equip them with basic understanding of cricket, and then be able to use that to spend time with their kids, it was like a no-brainer for me. I was like, I can help parents connect with their kids and teach kids at the same time. What a win.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. I think also I had a lot of parents coming to me asking me to coach their 6-year-olds, and it would be like, say to them, listen, what I'm going to teach them at 6, you can actually teach your kid. You don't need to have a specialist teaching your 6 or 7 or 8, even your 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds. You don't need a specialist doing specific coaching with them. At that age, it's more about ball skills. It's more about hand-eye coordination, learning just to hit the ball freely and letting them develop on their own while spending time with you. And for me, it's a big thing that kids want to spend time with mom and dad. I think if we all can go back in time, and some of us like us, Rob, you and I, we had that privilege of spending time with mom and dad. And I bet if the people out there that didn't get that, if they could go back to that age and remember what they wanted, they just wanted time with mom and dad. They wanted dad to go, hey, well done, or acknowledge what they'd done and just spend a little bit of time. And I know that's a massive thing for young kids. And that for me is the starting point. So if you as parents can spend that time with your kids, number one, it builds trust with them. You will not regret it. They will love it. And then the older they get, they naturally, and I'm going through it now, my kids are teenagers, they naturally tend to listen to other people a little bit more than they listen to you, but they will always come back to you because you built that trust and you gave them your time as a young kid. So So that's pretty much where this whole thing was born out of. There's two sides: being able to reach other kids, but also just being able to try and get the family unit back together. Parents spending time with their kids, kids spending time with their parents. Yeah.
No, I think it's very important and very cool.
So just going on from that too, Rob, I mean, obviously there's that perspective of it. And then if you take cricket as a whole, being a coach and and you touched on a little bit about it, like being able to, I mean, you can know all the technical stuff, and you can be able to, you are like a teacher, and teachers, some of the worst teachers I had at school were the cleverest guys in the world. They just couldn't communicate with everybody.
100%
They may be
same
connected with certain people, but not with everybody. And I think one of the most important things for a coach to be good, is to be able to get the best out of every individual and a team collectively. So you've got to be able to meet people where they are, be able to identify different talents and different players. Every kid is different, so you've got to be able to draw out or communicate with each individual at their level at a different way. And for me, it's not about necessarily creating superstars. It's about opening young players' minds to what they can do and how they play, and build their belief in themselves and their ability in the way they do things. Yes, they're fundamental things that you have to get right to be able to do the different aspects of cricket. But once you've got those things, it's allowing the child to grow and develop in their space, how they do things. So it's been quite a challenge to work out how we set this whole thing up. Do we take it from a kid's point of view? Do we take it from a parent's point of view? And I think we sat down and we looked at it and we thought, what, we're obviously trying to equip parents, because that's where we feel the breakdown is, obviously in the family unit, but from a fundamental point, because a lot of kids are not getting those basics taught to them. So it actually should all start at home, because that's where it started with us. We didn't go off just and have professional coaches. I mean, we were fortunate in having good coaches through the schools we went through, but it all started at home, learning those basics. So that's kind of where we started. And cricket is a unbelievably complex sport. There's millions of aspects to cricket. I mean, you just take batting, for instance, and the different formats, different pitches, left hand, right hand, different age groups, short ball, front foot, back foot. I mean, we can go on forever. So
facing spin bowlers, facing fast bowlers.
So working out how we were going to structure this thing out to make it simple for parents to be able to navigate through all these aspects and make it simple for their kids to learn these fundamentals so that they can get results. That's been probably our biggest challenge. But I think how we've structured it inside the Home Coach Cricket Club, I think we're on the right track. Well, no, not to think. I believe we're on the right track. We've broken it up into different stages, and we've focused really on the fundamental and the beginners stage first. We've had a lot of requests, for older kids, and it's been very difficult not to rush off and chase that. We've been able to help quite a few people there, but it's been really important for us to start at the base and build those fundamentals out. And there's still a lot of work and a lot of other things that we need to put in there, but I think we've covered most of those fundamentals so that anyone can start off. And it's always good for even guys or girls that are further on down their cricket careers to always go back and just double check that are they in the right, have they done the right things? There's obviously, the older you are, we've all built habits. Sometimes you can't change those habits, but it's always good to go back if you go and talk to all the top players and the top coaches, especially in their off seasons, they always go back and they focus on the basics. I bet you if you sat in a lot of team talks, one of the one common thing that most coaches will be saying to their players is just make sure we get the basics right. And that's not just basics as a team, that's basics as a batter, basics as a bowler. Get those things right, and then the performance will take care of itself. So it's really important for me that we've started there. And then we're going to try and build it out, obviously, through the stages, all the way through. And a big part of it, and this is something that I spend a lot of time focusing on with the kids that I coach privately, is their mental strength or their mental approach and mindset. Technique is very important, And it's really good to learn the basics and understand the fundamentals of how to hold a bat, the basic fundamentals of a bowling action, especially in bowling because of the dynamics of it and the body movement, you don't want injuries, etc., etc. So it's important to understand that stuff. But cricket is a very challenging game mentally, and a lot of, if I don't like using the word failure, but a lot of the failures come from not being able to handle different situations, pressure, and the mind is obviously where it all starts. So we're going to spend a lot of time inside the club focusing on the different methods and different ways of handling pressure, handling situations, overcoming setbacks, etc., etc. There's just, like I said, cricket, there's so many aspects, and that by itself is a massive topic. But I think that's, for me, is a very big subject that we will cover. And I think a lot of coaches miss that. You send your kids off to one-on-one coaching and you pay a lot of money for that one session. And I feel, I'm not saying that they're not, I think there are a lot of coaches out there that do focus on that, but it's more about technique. And there's not that mental approach and being able to work out, and everyone's different. Everybody's mental approach will be different. So it's, for me, it's really important that aspect is really taken care of, because the higher you get, the more it becomes about your mindset as opposed to your technique. So I think that's kind of where we're going with where we've come from, where we're going. Obviously, we're going to get a lot of feedback especially from our members and from people out there that will also guide us as to where and what we need to focus on. But like I said, there's so much to this game. It's kind of like a never-ending thing.
Story.
We're going to be making content for a very long time. So,
yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Mazid, do you want to tell us a bit about your cricketing journey? Obviously, I know a little bit about it. I mean, I used to come down and watch your provincial games from Natal Inland. Well, it was B level then, until Natal Inland, while I was meant to be studying for my finals exams in Matric, which is the South African A level version. I used to come and sit there and watch. I don't know how much studying I did. But do you want to tell us a bit about growing up and getting started with cricket? And
like I said, Rob, I think it all started at home. I was fortunate that I had three brothers and a dad that was keen to play cricket, but we played lots of sport, played polo, cricket, rugby. But I think, looking back, cricket was always like my number one. We spent a lot of time in the garden playing test matches. In fact, I was cleaning out the house the other day and I found a scorebook that we had made up, all the old names from back then and the teams. And, I was slotted in at number 5 or number 4, and you know what I mean? And we used to score and play. So I think that's where it started. It was just like, and whenever we had an opportunity, we were playing. It was pool cricket. Flipping, if we were at the beach, we were skimming balls.
In your house now, on that veranda, which was obviously our grandfather's house. There was wickets painted onto that wall. I can remember having games down there.
Yeah. In fact, I say Dad was a big influence. Grandpa, I remember the first bat I was given. I was sitting having coffee with my dad and my our grandpa, and he said to me, "Are you serious? Are you serious about playing cricket?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he pulled out, there were these 3 old bats there, and I mean, they were like, I'm reckoning they were like 1940s bats. And in fact, the one was it had borer in it. It was like really buggered. And he took it out and he said, "Okay, this is going to be your bat." Didn't have a grip on it, but he cut it down to size for me, hung a ball in the tree, and he said, "Right, when you've hit that ball 1,000 times, then we're going to talk." And he just sent me out there. It was no like, this is how you hold the bat. I just had to go and hit this ball. And I think about it now, like that was so unconventional back then. Because when we were coached then at school by coaches, it was all about technique, that you had to hold the bat a specific way and you had to play a specific thing. Now when I think about how coaching has evolved and what coaches are doing now and how I coach, and maybe that's where our way of coaching is born because of that. It was just unconventional. It wasn't like, okay, now you must hold the bat like this and you must hit the ball like this. It was just going to hit the ball 1,000 times. Count. I had to count 1,000 times. And I was too terrified of Grandpa not to do 1,000 balls. I think I probably hit about 10,000. But that's how it started, and I was hitting balls, and then obviously we played lots of cricket at home, and then I think in our little farm school there were so few kids. I was playing first team in grade 1, batted at 11, didn't bowl, fielded at fine leg or long stop. But it was just so awesome to be on the cricket field. I can remember one game I had to come in and bat at the end, and this big, he was grade 7, came in. I think he was probably pitching it at back of a length, and it was whistling over my head. And we didn't have helmets or anything in the day then. I remember that guy on the other end said to me, "Just don't get out." But yeah, and then we were very fortunate that we had a really awesome coach at Easton, Hilton Phillips, and he spent a lot of time with me in the nets at break time. I pestered him, but he was willing, never asked for a cent, threw to me for hours, and then took me through to all the different trials. So I was fortunate enough to play representative cricket in primary school, which kind of set me up for high school. Although when I got to high school at Maritzburg College, it was a kind of like it's one of my pet peeves about high schools. We were kind of all separated. We arrived there, a big group of kids, and I understand that it's difficult when you've got a lot of kids to try and sift through everybody. But unfortunately, I think that's how a lot of guys get lost in the system. And certain schools were all taken aside to the A squad, and then B squad, and then C squad. And unfortunately, I mean, if I'd just come from Easton, I mean, my mates that didn't get picked in a representative pre-primary school were all shifted down to, like, they started in the Fs. But because I played that in the representative side, I was put in the B team. And I was an all-rounder. I bowled, batted 5-6. And I remember on the Friday morning, team sheets went up. I was in the B team. I was like, okay, I've got a starting point. We weren't allowed to speak to our parents there. We were in boarding school. We weren't allowed to speak to our parents for 3 weeks. So I was like, okay. But I had an older boy there, so he obviously got on the phone, told the parents. And at about, I can't remember what time, sometime during the day, my coach came to me and he said, "Do you want to open the batting?" So I was like, well, I mean, so if you want me to open the batting, I'll open the batting. Yeah. And he was like, "No, there's the A team batsman is sick. Do you think you can go and open the batting for the A's?" I was like, "So I'll do anything to play in the A team." And that was it. And I went up, fortunately got 100 in my first game, and that was me. So, but that I became an opening batter. And in hindsight, actually wasn't really my position. I ended up later on in my career going back to batting in the middle order. But it kind of got me there, and it taught me a lot, opening the batting. So it's been pretty cool because I've been able to, being an opening batter and then batting in the middle order, I've batted down the order. So I've kind of got an idea of what it's like to bat all over the place. And cricket has changed massively from when I was at school. So, yeah, I think, but yeah, my point is I had to learn. I had to learn how to open the batting. And it wasn't a natural thing for me to open the batting. And it definitely had a big impact on how I played my game. But I was an aggressive player. I like to hit the ball. I think, sadly, though, I stopped bowling because I focused very much on opening the batting. And I think I wasn't encouraged enough to bowl. And I think that's somewhere sometimes we get lost, in big schools, that kind of stuff happens. And I do get it because there's a lot of players.
I just think it's for a cricketer who's wanting to make it, having a diverse skill set.
Yeah.
Just opens up doors and gives you options.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Obviously, you want to master. If you want to make it to the top level, you've got to master being a batsman or an all-rounder or both. But in your positions. But being able to, your team's in trouble and they need a wicket, and the bowlers that are bowling aren't doing well, to be able to still pull you out. And know that they can rely on you to just hold an end for 3 overs or whatever the story is. I think it's super important having that diverse skill.
No, 100%.
And also, just to add to that, like, you started more as a bowler and ended up being a batsman. Gary started more as a batsman and ended up being a bowler, which I think we'll discuss in later podcasts. Maybe was bad coaching or selection or guidance system exactly, but you never know where what you're going to grow into. And you might be good at certain things now, but at a later stage your body will develop slightly and you might actually end up being a top bowler. But if you don't pursue having that
Yeah.
diverse skill range while
Yeah.
you're young,
Yeah.
then you'll never know when
Yeah.
you get to those later ages. So
No,
that's just
absolutely.
a
And I
side note.
think, I mean, it wasn't that I didn't bowl. I just focused very much on my batting, and I ended up later on in my school career bowling again.
And I mean, at club level,
Yeah.
you
Even at provincial level,
yeah.
I've got a few very funny stories, and I won't say that my bowling was the best, but
But you're an opening bowler, when you went to
yes, I know.
field club.
I did. I was a batter that ended up being an opening bowler in the UK for my club. In fact, was very fortunate to play with a very young Chris Wokes then. But going back to the school thing, I was very fortunate that I had some really awesome coaches going through school. Mr. Mordaunt, he's very old school. Peter Mordaunt was our under 14 coach, and then under 13 coach, and then Lance Feenstra. He had a huge impact with me. He was just a special human being, and I'll never forget. And it's something that I wasn't really going to share in this podcast, but I think I will anyway, just because there's a lot of parents that there's a lot of requests on how to deal with failure, and my kids, they just, they were scoring runs last year, and now they're not scoring runs, and it's, like, people don't know how to deal with it. Kids don't know how to deal with it, and you got to understand that it happens. And my story is in under 14. I mean, under 13, I scored plenty of runs. Under 14, I started with Lance Feenstra, and I was on duck number 5 in a row. So I'd got 5 ducks. And the only reason why I didn't get 6 in a row was because the last game of the season was rained out. So I know what it's like to go through that. And it was just, I was 14, turning 15. My body grew. I felt like I was holding a golf club when I walked out to bat. I didn't know what I was doing. Fortunately, Lance Feenstra, he knew that I had talent, and he stuck with me.
He knew your potential.
He knew my potential.
Would come right.
And I'll never forget, at the end of the season, nobody had scored 100 at the end of that first term, because our year is a bit different. I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but from January to March was cricket season. It was the beginning of the year. And then you played in the fourth term, which was September to Christmas time. And he said, well, nobody scored 100. Which of you guys is going to be the first to score 100? And I went away that winter, and I'd got 6 ducks, 5 ducks in a row, 6 in my head. And we had a rugby season, so I obviously got a little bit stronger. And then I practiced my backside off through the off season, through our third term. And first game back against Hilton, I got 148. And it just goes to show, like, you've got to, when you're in that time, I learned then, and that actually taught me a good lesson now when you're coaching kids, is that form is that old saying, but it's so true. Form is temporary, class is permanent. So, not to say again that I was the classiest player in the world, but you've got to learn to believe in yourself. You've got to learn to know that you're going to go through dips, and the biggest challenge is, or the biggest, I suppose, challenge, and I suppose it's for a coach and a player, is to be able to make sure that when you're in the dip, that dip is for a shorter period of time as possible. But you're going to go through the dips, but you come out of those dips. And that's what's hard as a parent, to see your child not performing week in and week out, and them losing hope. And it's hard to be able to say to them, listen, I know, I've been through it, but they will be okay. They're doing everything right. It's just suddenly going to click. It's hard to say that, and people like, whatever. And then it happens. I've had it now already with a kid that I was coaching last year. He just couldn't get it right. He's unbelievably technically sound, brilliant player. Should be scoring 100 every time he goes out to bat, but he was getting 15, 20, getting out 15, 20. And I kept saying to him, don't worry, the work you're doing now is going to pay off. People, unfortunately, it's the world. We want instant gratification. We want the results now. But suddenly he had a bit of a break over Christmas, and then suddenly he started making runs, and things are starting to click. So you've got to understand there's a process. And I was fortunate enough to have coaches that emphasized that to me going through school. So I think a lot of my coaching was born out of and influenced by people like this. Obviously my dad first, Hilton Phillips, Lance Feenstra, and then a massive influence was Mark Bechet, absolute legend at Maritzburg College. His results speak for themselves. Some people didn't like him. He was very much a hard coach. So you either got on with him or you didn't. But for me, he was phenomenal. And yeah, there are a lot of lessons that maybe we'll talk about in another podcast. I don't want to go into too much detail here, but he taught me a lot of things. But I think the most important thing was he taught me how to believe in myself. I mean, I thought I knew, but he had a way of getting you to just work that much harder, believe that much more, how to win games where that we were dead and buried. So he just had this knack of getting the best out of individual players and, more importantly, team as a team. So yeah, he had a huge impact on my cricket. And then after school, I mean, I was fortunate enough to play representative cricket, which was awesome for me. So I got to play against all the top players in the country in my age groups or through the age groups. Went to the Northerns Academy, had some great coaches there, Dave Nosworthy, Anton Ferreira, and then Grant Morgan came in as well. And I think for me, he's probably one of the best technical coaches that I've ever worked with and played with. He just had an unbelievable brain for picking things out in a person's technique and being able to fix it. And he did a lot of work on my batting. So I think those are the guys that had a major influence on me as coaches. And then I think I just learned from them, picked out the different, things, and then also playing with top players and experienced players and listening to them on the field, listening to them analyze a batsman and work out how they're going to get him out and what he was doing wrong, which made me look at their techniques. Yeah, and I think just spending time with them, being able to spend time with those guys, and then obviously going on playing a bit of first class cricket. I was fortunate enough to spend. We played it when I was in England. We played in a pros game, a warm up game for Warwickshire. Where the pros played against the Warwickshire side. It was a warm up for their T20 season, and they mixed us all up and sat with Kumar Sangakkara. He was in our team. For me, that was like unbelievable at the time. I think he was the number one batsman in the world.
Run scorer.
Top, yeah, he was rated number one. And he was the pro at the time, I think with Heath Streak and a few other guys that were overseas players that were there. But I was fortunate to be with him, and he was batting at 3 and I was batting at 4. And I remember saying to him, and he was just such a genuine man. I mean, he has, one of the best test and all-round players. I mean, he was a keeper batter of that time in the world. And I sat next to him in a change room, and it was like we'd known each other our whole lives. He was just a special, special human being. He probably won't remember who I am. But we sat and we chatted, and I was like, "Hey, I don't care if I only face one ball today. I just want to bat with you in the middle." And he laughed, and unfortunately, he got a first baller, I think. And we passed each other. And I said, "Well, at least I've been on the field with you." But just sitting with him in the change room and listening to his approach to his game. So I've been very fortunate in being able to spend time with players like that. And I think because of Dad's influence, I learned how to absorb stuff from people. So, and then also be able to, because of that, be able to look at every person differently. I can coach you a certain way, but you will respond very differently to our older but Gary.
Yeah.
And so I'm very aware of that, in my coaching. And I think that comes from being able to, or being exposed to different players, different coaches, playing around the world. So I think in many ways I'm very privileged, and that's pretty much been my journey as a player. Then, playing a bit of first class cricket for Inland, captaining the side, I learned a hang of a lot there. We were always kind of like the whipping boys back then. We were a new union that had been promoted up, and we were trying to obviously stay up and play as competitive cricket as we were. It wasn't quite professional then. Most of the guys were working, so we weren't training. We weren't being paid. We were having to travel. I mean, and that's the other thing that I need to actually just say, Dad, I mean, he used to drive me into town. I was playing for our varsity side and the club side, and then for Inland, it was like 4 trips a day into Maritzburg, half an hour in, 50 or 100K round trip.
4 trips a week.
A week, sorry, not a day. 4 trips a week, and then games. And that's what Dad did for us. He came in and it was never a hassle. He'd sit there, read his newspaper, watch a little bit, ask me questions. It was like I always thought he wasn't watching, but coming home, he'd ask me about stuff, and then I'd be like, whoa. And that actually taught me also that coaching is definitely not about telling people how to do stuff. It's about allowing them to do you've got to give them an idea of what they've got to do, but allowing them to do it and then ask them questions, get them to think, get their brains to work. And that's what Dad did for me. So the whole way home, we'd be talking about stuff, and he would have just asked me one question about something that he saw. So yeah, I mean, that was pretty cool. And again, what a privilege to have spent that time with our late father, driving all the time, just chatting, So yeah, I'm very privileged to have had that time. So, going back to playing for Inland, there was the one thing is we were always playing against like better players, if I can put it that way. We played against all the big unions, and generally we played against their B sides, the main unions, and they would load their B sides with some of their main players, guys coming back from injury or guys needing game time. They'd come down and play there. So it was a pretty tough environment to be in, and a lot of our guys weren't. I mean, we weren't professional, so I learned a hang of a lot there. Yeah, it taught me a lot about myself, and it taught me a lot about my own game. So yeah, I think I've been very privileged to have played against some of the best players, played with some of the best players. But I think looking back, I've always had more of a tendency to want to be a coach. I always wanted to help players and not necessarily need to be in the limelight. And when I was playing, I obviously wanted to win the game and wanted to be that guy scoring the runs and doing all of that stuff. But yeah, I think when I was 24, I was player coach or play assistant coach. So I've always kind of had that tendency towards coaching. And even at school, I was helping. When I was going to say, you were coaching
14
coaching the lighties,
14Ds or whatever it was.
Yeah, coaching teams. I broke a finger one season, and I went and I coached one of the junior sides. I guess that's who I am. So, and I love it.
I just want to add something on there, because I think Dad, it's something that he kind of installed in us as well. Is a passion for helping people and a passion for supporting others and seeing others succeed. And it's something that like it brings joy to us, because I know I'm exactly the same in that. I
was going to say I get a huge kick out of being able to help somebody and see them develop and grow and actually see their potential and get results
and do well and see the enjoyment that they get from that success.
And then I think we just went overseas. I got married, had kids. Playing cricket became less of a priority for me, and I stayed coaching whoever I could. Coached overseas when I was there playing as a pro. I was fortunate to coach with Griff. He had a company coaching some really dodgy schools over there.
There's some amazing stories that you have in there. I don't know if they can all be.
I don't have the time. I don't have the time, and some of them I think they don't need to be aired. But I learned a hang of a lot there, coaching. And being a South African boy, we're very different to the rest of the world. I learned a lot about coping with different environments. So I've been very fortunate to have been able to coach in a different country, coaching different. And I hadn't coached girls up until that point, and I was fortunate enough then to start coaching girls. And I think maybe the good Lord knew that I was going to have 3 daughters, and he kind of like started back then. And
so guys, we just got caught by our wonderful South African electricity provider, and load shedding again, which just cut halfway through our podcast. So we are actually almost done with what we wanted to discuss today. I don't know if there was anything that you wanted to finish off there, Mazza, in regards to.
No, I just think I think if I can just say cricket. I mean, you won't be listening to this if you don't love the game of cricket, but it is a phenomenal sport, and the opportunities I've had through cricket, even you, Rob, everybody really.
We had a fantastic time in the UK together, and I didn't go there to play cricket, but I ended up playing cricket. And it was so much fun playing at the same club that you were playing at while we lived together. Obviously, and I mean, I wouldn't have had that fun on the side of what I was doing there if I didn't play the sport. So
I think it's very special, and we've kind of spoken quite subduedly here, but most cricketers have got a very naughty side to them, and I think it comes from spending so much time together. And cricket, okay, it's changed now. This game is becoming like more focused on the shorter format, but you spend so much time on the field and you get to become really good mates with the people that you play with, and you make friends because you spend so much time playing against them. You make some proper enemies as well. But generally, you're going to have a beer afterwards or a chat afterwards, and so I think there's something special about the game of cricket in that it's not a game that's over in an hour, and it's mentally taxing, and it takes time, and you've got to develop so many different aspects to it. So it's a very challenging sport, and so I think it really tests people, and it brings out the best in people, and it's taught me like how to get along with people. So it's taught me massive life skills, and obviously coaching as well has taught me huge life skills. But you start to learn different characters, and it's brought out a lot of different sides in me that probably wouldn't have come out if I hadn't played cricket. So I'm really grateful for my experience of just playing the game and then being able to coach. And I must say, like, some of the kids that I've coached, or not some of them, actually all the kids that I've coached, there hasn't been one person that I have not liked coaching. Some of the parents have been hard work. And in fact, at one stage, I actually wanted to stop coaching just because of the parents. And I think that's something that I would like to try and end off with here, is that parents remember that, and I'm talking from a coach's point of view and a parent's point of view, okay? It's not about us anymore. It's not about the coach, and it's not about the parent. It's about the kid. And that's something that I'm really passionate about. Those parents that are out there trying to live through their children and forcing them to do stuff and pushing them. I'm not saying that children don't need to be pushed every now and again. They do, because kids don't really know their potential, and sometimes they do need a nudge. But it's that the parents that are constantly on their kids and never really allowing them to grow at their speed. It's very hard for me to deal with people like that. I've learned how to do it. And at one stage, I wanted to stop coaching for it because it just, and I was a lot younger then, because it frustrated me. It's so damaging. I could see it, but they couldn't see it. So please, my request is, please, if you tend to be like that, just take a step back and allow your kid to grow and develop on their own with your quality time and guidance. Not an overbearing kind of persona, please. I think it's really important. Your involvement is key, but how you are involved is more important, not just being involved.
100%.
And then let your kids develop and let them come out of their shells and grow. And you'll see a lot of the stuff they learn in cricket and a lot of the stuff that we teach is going to help them in all the aspects of life. So yeah, I think cricket's taught me. It's got me into a lot of trouble. But not trouble that I regret. We've had so much fun. The time that I've spent in the change rooms with my mates, and even with the team as a coach, laughing, learning, telling jokes, it's been really special. So I think that's my story, Rob. I don't want to go into too much more detail about where I've been and what I've done. Like I say, I think everybody's got their story, but it is just such a phenomenal game, and I'm very privileged to be a part of it.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I think that's pretty much all that we want to cover today in this first session, and we will be bringing you guys some cool interviews. We will also do some discussions like this, but on specific subjects. And again, we obviously are really passionate about what we're doing, and really passionate about helping parents with helping their kids, but also helping with parents with what Mario was talking about now, and that making sure that your involvement is in the right manner, and that you're there and present and not overbearing or over pressurizing.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, over pressurizing.
Yeah.
So obviously, just to, if you want to find out more about us, you can go to the homecoachcricket.com, our website. If you go to homecoachcricket.com/club, you can have a look at our main program, which is our membership. We have all of our courses are inside there, and we obviously have a community that we're building, that we providing support on, and it's a really cool place for people to come and share their experience and what they're struggling with their kids, to get feedback on it, and to see other parents who are in the same sort of position, in the same stage. So if you want to go and have a look at that, go to homecoachcricket.com/club. There's a 14-day free trial that you can sign up for. We also have some standalone courses, and we will be adding more stuff. And of course, we have a group of free videos as well on our blog that you can check out. And yeah, just looking forward to bringing you, more of these interesting discussions, bringing on some cool experts. Murray, thank you for your time, as always. Obviously, I know that you are busy. You've got a family, you've got a farm that you're running, you've got kids that you're coaching, and there's just a lot going on in your life. So really appreciate your time that you are able to give for others. I think it's quite important just to put that out there. Cool. And yeah, guys, we're looking forward to hearing back from you. And so be sure to be in contact. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram and sign up for our email list. But my biggest suggestion always is to just check out the club, take a free trial and have a look. You got 14 days just to look inside. There's no pressure. It will 100% help you. It will help your kids. And we've got so much more to go with it. So, which I'm really, really excited about. So, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I think also, Rob, just from me, before we end off, I'd just like to say a couple of things. First, been really awesome chatting. I really hope that everybody out there will kind of take the time to think about what it was like when they were a kid and see how important it is to spend time with your kids, because maybe you didn't have it or maybe you did have it. And that's, I think, if we don't ever hear from you or you don't ever join our actual club, I really hope that you are able to spend that time with your kids. That is ultimately what we're passionate about. Obviously, getting results and equipping parents with the basic fundamentals of how to coach, not just technically, but actually how to coach and how to get the best out of their kids. But most importantly, spending time with your kids. And what a better way to do it than doing it, playing cricket and having fun. But just please make sure that, number one, you are always having fun with your kids. It must never become a chore or a job. It's about having fun and keeping it fun with them. That's the most important thing. And then be patient with them. Just remember, kids are kids, and they need to be kids. I think we want to expect them to be doing what an 18-year or a 19-year-old kid is doing when they're only 9.
Yeah.
Just remember 100%. Where they are and be patient with them. Keep it fun, and remember, whatever time you spend with them, as long as it's quality time, is going to benefit them. So, yeah, I think that's probably my best bit of advice that I could give is spend quality time with your kids and just meet them where they are. Don't expect massive things from them when they are only 9 years old. Just let them be 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever it is. Yeah, and I hope that we meet you along the way and we can help you and share stories and share the journey. I've been privileged to share a couple of kids' journeys, and I just hope that Home Coach is able to touch thousands and thousands of lives out there.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for listening in, and we look forward to chatting with all of you again in our next session. All right. Cheers.
Ciao.